Hi, I'm Erin with Homeschool Connections. We're here today with Tammy Parker. Tammy, great to have you here.
Hello. I'm so privileged to be here. I'm excited. Thank you.
And I'm excited to hear about your courses and your service, what you do with Homeschool Connections. Tell us about that.
Well, I teach middle school and high school. I have 3 courses currently and some in the back of my mind, so we'll see what comes in the future. I teach in the categories of currently of life skills and business and philosophy, because the logic goes in the philosophy category. So I have detecting logical fallacies, and there's 2 parts to that. And then there's career explorations and career quests are kind of a 2-part thing. And then entrepreneurship is the 3rd one that I teach. So.
3 very important courses. I want to talk a little bit about each one. The first one with logical fallacies, and fallacies, define fallacies for us.
Okay, so a fallacy is an error in logic. So you're looking at a situation and what is the error in logic. So an example would be like a red herring is a distraction. You're trying to distract someone away from what they're actually talking about. So you would use that as, and that would be a fallacy because distracting someone doesn't solve the thing, doesn't come to a proper conclusion. There's no logic there. So it's looking at them, and there's a whole bunch of fallacies. It's using the fallacy detective book. Thus the class is called Detecting Logical Fallacies. And so we're looking, but we look deeper too, because we're working on, when you're looking at fallacies, you're looking at the critical thinking, right? You're using your brain,
right.
You're using your mind.
Right.
So you're looking deeper. So in the class, we think about the critical thinking, we talk about critical thinking, what strategies you'd have. We also talk about the fallacies, what they are, how to recognize them, and we play games with it. So we'll have this thing where they can annotate the screen and they can, guess which or critically think what fallacy it is, and then we kind of see it, and then we talk about it. And if there was a difference in opinion, like someone would say, well, that's a red herring, and someone else says, well, no, that's an ad hominem attack. Well, they are both a red herring. It's just more specifically that one would be an attack on the person. So the distraction was specific. So we go into that. And then this week we just got into riddles because that's a critical thinking skill. Because assumptions is part of detecting fallacies, is that sometimes there's assumptions made. And is that assumption proper, not proper? And riddles are a fun way to kind of exercise your brain. So we've done some riddles today too. So it's just kind of, we have fun kind of learning this idea of, let's learn how to think critically. What's fun also is the kids getting excited about it. They'll tell me, hey, I recognized the other day I did this, or I heard someone do this. And we do talk about being polite in our corrections, because they might recognize it in a sibling or something. And we need to make sure that if we're pointing out that was a straw man or whatever, appeal to people, we need to do that in a way that's Christ-like, so that our relationships still remain good. So we do talk about that as well. So we have a lot of fun.
So, but that skill of being able to, first of all, know how to argue a point or discuss something without getting off track with any of these fallacies is really, really important. But then to be able to, in your own reading, as a young adult and adult, figure out this is a fallacy, this isn't argued correctly, and to have good thinking to go forward. I want to talk to the parents watching. This course is really important. It's just so powerful in a young person's life and in the future. Let's go to the next course. What would you like to talk about next? I want to hear more details.
I'm going to throw in a side thought. My husband, more than once since I started teaching this course, and he's had to see me prep things, he's like, I wish I would have had this when I was a kid. I wish I would have had this at some point. This is, because you hear things as adults, we hear things, but it is for our kids to give this gift to them now, to look at these fallacies, to recognize them. The fruit will come. It's amazing. So
that's
kind of the thing. So
yes, well, entrepreneurship. That's amazing for today with online and all of the opportunities for being an entrepreneur and having either a second source of income or a main source of income. Tell us about that course.
Well, this course, we start in first semester in part 1, we go over like the who, what, when, way, how, all those kinds of things. It's kind of the basics. We start there. This week, we kind of got into more the nitty gritty because we talked about the legal structures that were there. So we kind of, the first semester is the overview basic, the crux of the entrepreneurship. And then the second semester, we dive deeper and they end up doing a business plan, a one-page business plan, not the full detailed kind that it's going to make it fall on the floor, but something through. And even if it's an imaginary business. Now, some of my students already have a business idea in mind. Some are just like toying with this idea. So then they would have to have an imaginary business, but they'll land on something, but they'll learn something in the process of organizing the data.
That's right.
But what helps
That's right.
them is I'm from a family of entrepreneurs. My parents were entrepreneurs. I have my own businesses. My kids have their own businesses. So I have this real heart and passion for, whether it's a sideline, you're just doing it on the side because you have this interest, or whether it's your main source of income. There's all sorts of ways, but it also is beyond that. And that's why I try to get through to my students. It's a mindset, because you can be entrepreneurial within an organization, and organizations need that. They need that thinking out of the box, going the extra mile, being creative in their thinking. So even if you're not going to start your own business, it's a great class to learn about business in general, but also to have that mindset that you can be the most help you can be in whatever God's calling you to do. And nonprofits are entrepreneurial. So even if you're called into God's service, that is entrepreneurial. You can find ways to help people. So there's all sorts of things that are very helpful for, even if you're not going to start your own business, to learn about it with this class, I think is exciting. And
Another powerful class.
So,
absolutely. And the third class?
The third class is Career Quest, or Career Explorations is first part, and Career Quest is the second part. So it's a two-part with two different names. And so the first part is similar to the second, and the main thing of it is to give them the tools and the opportunity to look deeper at, okay, what's God calling me to do? What are my skills? What are my values? What are my passions? And how does that all come together with some sort of direction? Because there's so much pressure sometimes on high school students. What are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to do what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so in a sense, it gives them permission to take this journey and make it their own. And now they, like I said at the very beginning to the kids, it's like, now you have something to say. When someone says, what are you going to do when you graduate? Well, I'm taking a career class and I'm exploring those ideas, so it's a response. But beyond that, they're journaling. They're asked to journal weekly. They read different articles. They do 4 different assessments in this first semester. And then we get into that career investigation where they've looked at themselves and some values, and then we start looking at actual careers. And not just surfacely, but looking at the details of like, what's the income? What's the projections of higher ability? Maybe in their own region, maybe nationally. And if they're an international student, what's in their area? So looking like further into this, from the beginning of where they're being called to specifically what would that look like? And that might end up into a no, which is fine. A no is part of the journey.
That's right.
And it's okay. And to know that a career is not just one-time thing. I mean, throughout my life, I've done several different things as a career.
Right. So have I. Yeah.
A mom and a homeschool mom is been one of my careers. A coach for a homeschool team. So looking at all the different things and looking at their charisms, how is God using this, in their talents, and how to build on those skills is also kind of opening their eyes to other opportunities maybe that they hadn't thought of before. But just kind of being beside them on the journey and calling them on to, it's okay to not immediately know, and it's okay to seek and to pray. We ask them to pray and journal, but to seek and have a way to seek. Like some tools. It gives them some tools to do this in a logical manner and give them those moments. Or and maybe they come across something they've never heard of. Like art therapy was one that was discussed in class, and I heard about it a couple years ago. I never heard about it prior to that. And one of the students just happened to come across it in something they were doing. They're like, I never heard of an art therapist. So they learned something new. They wanted to serve people and they liked creative stuff. Now, will they be an art therapist? I don't know. God knows, but I don't. But they learned something new, and it got them, thinking like beyond maybe like, I don't know, to, oh, maybe this. And that's fun to see that with them. And that's, so I'm going along on a journey with them, giving them tools to help that journey along, basically.
You teach 3 very powerful courses. All 3 of them have such application, just in mindset and in just future decision making, and in being able to function well with others in society, from a career to just the way that we argue or discuss our points together. Also very valuable.
Some students that are in both classes or more than one of my classes, which is kind of fun. I can see the crossover between them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You also have a service that you give here at Homeschool Connections. Tell us about that.
Yes, I'm on their website, and it's under now I can't remember what it's under. Consulting. It's under consulting. And when you click on that, then I'm under the accountability end, because what I do is accountability mentoring. I also do tutoring and other things, but for Homeschool Connections, your connection to me would be the accountability mentoring. So you're like, what is that? It's not accounting.
Right.
It's not, although my degree is in finance and I could do your accounting, that's not what it is. Accountability mentoring is basically helping a student become accountable themselves to the journey of their own education. And I think that's really important, especially for older high schoolers, but really for any of the kids. My kids all along, we had planners, and I tried to have them own their own education. And obviously, you help them along in this journey. But with older high schoolers especially, having them learn to own their own education,
Yes.
look at their own schedule, stay on a schedule that they've made in agreement. I mean, it's not against parents' wishes. It's an agreement with the parents
Right.
of, okay, this is, they can compare, okay, is this, I'm going to do this, is this working? These are the classes I'm taking. And looking at their load as far as, how much time does it take for these classes? Sometimes students get into the middle of this and they don't realize, well, this class I can do in 3 hours of study time. This class, I'm going to need 5. Knowing those things and helping them come up with a system. We have to, it depends. If they're on paper, we do one thing. If they're on computer, we do another. If they have a hybrid, we do something else. But the main thing is kind of being that support of helping them learn to own it, first of all, and being that buffer as far as, why would a parent want to pay for this service? I'm the buffer because I use accountability mentors for my kids. There are times when it was just nice to have someone else tell them the same thing I've been telling them for years.
Right, the support.
It's a different messenger. And so having a different messenger, sometimes they just need it. I know my kids did. And so if I can do that for someone else, it's kind of fun. And we have fun together. We, it's not all grilled. It's fun. So develop a relationship, and then parents are part of it too. They can, with the service, the students get about 45 minutes and the parents get 15 minutes a week. Can they move that around? I've had some parents take the whole meeting, and then I met next week with the kids. I've had other times where the kid had the whole meeting. It's really up to the parent. But I'm there 1 hour a week to be there for them.
So it's someone who's a guide for accountability for the student to learn how to get things done in a really powerful way, and for the parent to have an assistant as well.
And it's definitely to help them with life skills, because the whole point of it, I have a job that's to put myself out of business for that client, because my goal is eventually they learn these skills they do on their own, and then they don't need me anymore.
Absolutely.
They'll want me in their life as a touchstone, and that's fine too. And that's
right.
That's a joy in my heart for that. But
well, tell us a little bit about your life and who you are, and a little, maybe something personal to let us relate.
I'm Parker, and I am a mom. I am a wife. I am a convert to Catholicism. God brought me on this journey in a wonderful way, and love that. And basically, I have a passion for helping people. I was a foster adoptive mom, so I fostered over 30 kids, and I have 2 birth and 4 adopted, so I have 6 forevers, and they're all adults now. So, but I'm not an empty nester, because many of them are home, especially because of COVID. So
that's right,
and that's okay. God has provided us with that, and so I have a great joy in that. I have my own business, Pine Meadows Academy, so I do the accountability mentoring through that, and tutoring, and I do classes and all that kind of thing. Obviously, I'm an instructor for Homeschool Connections. My husband and I have a lot of fun. We go for walks. We live in the country. We live on 10 acres. We have kind of what we call maybe a gentleman's farm, because we have chickens that lay, and we raise pigs, but we're not like a big farm operation. We live on 10 acres. So that's nice. So and I love nature. I love to go walking. I also like to do art. So I paint and draw, and in my own little fanciful way, for my own enjoyment. And I'm a huge movie buff, so I love.
There you go.
I like to compare. I like to compare and compare.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think that what you're providing is fabulous. If you're watching this today and you have a teen, you'd like some of those skills that we talked about in the courses, maybe you'd like that accountability, and to find out more about any of these courses or the accountability that you can get with your teen, homeschoolconnections.com is the website. And if you have specific questions, you can go to homeschoolconnections@gmail.com and send an email. But Tammy, do you have also another email that you'd like to share where people can reach out to you?
Yes, they can reach me directly at pinemeadowsacademy@gmail.com. Okay.
There you
And
go.
PineMeadowsAcademy.com is my website, which will also have the email there, so you can get a hold of me there. And I just want to say, Homeschool Connections is an incredible organization. If you're new to Homeschool Connections, you will be well loved here. Their customer service is great, and their classes are incredible. And I'm speaking from other instructors. I've known about them for years, and they do such a wonderful job. So it's a privilege actually to be working with them, whether it's my accountability mentoring or my classes, because I know it's a sound and healthy and godly organization, and that's a wonderful thing in this day and age.
It totally is. It is. Thank you for taking the time with us and for sharing so that people can see what you provide and also a little bit more of who you are. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, do feel free to reach out to us. And thank you, Tammy, again for today.
Yeah. God bless.